Hey there, folks. Brian Lee here again. I'm up on the mesa in New Mexico, and I'm 2 days away from the trip to Uganda, and we've got quite a snowstorm happening out there. So before I actually leave, what I wanted to do was I wanted to give people a view of what this trip will look like. And I wanted to try it here on Google Earth to just show you exactly where the villages are that have this sister village relationship. So the first village, the village in the United States that I spoke about, is Madrid, and that's where I'm going to be leaving from. So here we have the whole United States. Those of you that are maybe not from the United States, you're probably familiar with Canada up here on top, and Alaska, Greenland, and you just see the top of South America here. So this is continental United States, probably familiar with the outline. We're going to zoom in here. This big state here is Texas. And over here, west of Texas, is New Mexico. So we're going to zoom in, and there is, you can see it pointed out, the town of Madrid. And we'll keep zooming in, zooming in. And these mountains that you see down here at the bottom of the screen are called the Ortiz Mountains. See if I can post this up. And Madrid is a town that was originally founded for coal mining, as I mentioned in the other video. And if you saw that other video, we did a drive-through of Madrid, and we started way up here at the top where you see that funny little hand, and we drove along this road here. And we stopped in on the we didn't stop in on, but we drove by the ballpark, which I mentioned. And we also mentioned the white boarding house, big, tall, two-story that was the boarding house. We drove along Main Street, which you see here. I mentioned the Mine Shaft Tavern, which you can see. And we continued along this road to the water tank, which is this white round object down here. And that right about there is where we finished our video. So that's where I'm going to be leaving from. I'll actually be flying out of Albuquerque, which we'll see show up here, right down here in the bottom of the lower screen. There's Madrid, and up here is Santa Fe, which is the capital of the state of New Mexico. So continuing to zoom out, I guess what we can do is we can start here, and I'm just going to go up to that location box and put in Chamulibwa, which is spelled K-A or K-Y-A, but pronounced like a C-H. So there's Chamulibwa, Uganda, and we will let Google Earth take us there, across the Atlantic Ocean, across most of Africa, and boom, we drop down into Chamulibwa. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so that you can actually see where we are in Africa. We got there kind of quick, thanks to Google. But you see here, there's this huge lake called Lake Victoria, named after the Queen from Britain. And Lake Victoria, as we keep zooming out, you'll notice there's all these other lakes, and this is the Great Rift. And this is the Great Rift Valley here that's involved in western Uganda. So some of you might have seen some of the pictures from elephants and from Queen Elizabeth State Park, National Park rather, and that's out there in the Great Rift Valley, the Western Rift Valley, I think they call it. So this is the Republic of Congo, which you see there, and here is the country of Uganda. Zoom in a little bit. And Uganda, they say it's about the same square miles as the state of Oregon. But within it, there are, or there were when they created it, and still are, I believe, 50 plus tribes that are distinct tribes that have, their own languages, although a lot of them are related languages. Many of them are Bantu languages. Some of you may know the story of Livingston. And let's see, we have a bunch of lakes. This is also called the Great Lakes region of Africa. And so within these different Great Lakes, I'll zoom out a little bit, all running all along this area here. One of these lakes here, Lake Tanganyika, this was actually the lake where Livingston was found by Stanley. There were the famous lines, Dr. Livingston, I presume. Well, Lake Victoria, you can see here, the largest lake in all of Africa, and it's like an ocean. You go to, when you stand by it, you really can't tell the difference between that and an ocean. And so let's see, when we fly to, with this trip, we're going to be leaving from New York, but I'm going to zoom out a little bit and come on over here because we're going to be flying into this place here called Doha. And Doha is the capital of Qatar, which is one of the oil-producing states, a lot of natural gas, and you can see it's right across the Persian Gulf from Iran. So we'll see whether the airport lets me get a shot of that when we get in there. But we'll be flying to Doha, and then from Doha, flying down to Entebbe. And Entebbe is the main airport in Uganda, the international airport. You can see the little airplane there. And some of you may know Entebbe from back in the day. Whole story goes along with that. So we'll fly into Entebbe, and then typically we'll end up spending some time in Kampala. Kampala, the name Kampala, they told me, comes from the hill where the impalas, like the gazelles, where they were found. And that's where the king of Buganda actually has his palace and where he rules from. So we go across from Kampala out along here, which is called the Masaka Road, and it will get us all the way down here to Masaka. Now Masaka, all the way down here. Now Masaka, some of you might have talked with the boys Dumba and Mubiru, and Masaka is the big city outside of Chamulibwa, where we send money to, where the bank is, where the hospital is, where most of the more developed facilities are. And usually when people come and visit, they'll stay in a hotel in Masaka, and then in the morning time we'll go in a van all the way out to Chamulibwa, and at least until we get facilities there where we can actually house guests. So it's sort of interesting land there. There's water because it's so low and close to the lake. You see these areas that look like branches of a tree or veins in a lung or something, and those are actually lowland, swampy areas. So when you leave Masaka and you go, you can see this little road here, you will end up going across from a higher hill. You'll go across a swampy area, and then you'll come up on another hill, and then you'll go down a little swampy area, and you'll come up again, and you do that again, and come up on this side. And basically that goes on a number of times with each one of these little valleys until you finally end up in Chamulibwa. And Chamulibwa, some of you may know, is actually a centralized hub. If you've seen the pictures of the office in Chamulibwa, we'll try to zoom right into where that is. One of these last buildings right here where my little handy hand is, this one right here, this is the office to SCOW, the Save Chamulibwa Alliance Uganda. And I remember zooming in on this before I went there, and because you don't have that third dimension, it's kind of hard to imagine what it's like. Here you see one of the lower areas where the reeds, and when we bring baskets back, I think the fibers that the baskets are woven out of are happening in these greenish areas here, which are those sort of lowland, swampy kind of areas. But we'll see this all also in first person as the trip continues, and we'll have a number of little vignettes to show different places that. We'll do some videos from Masaka and some along the Masaka Road, and we'll definitely do some in Kampala. And not exactly sure where all we will end up on this trip, but I'm going to try to keep everybody well posted with at least a little bit of a video to show what these places are like and to see some of the sights and things like that. So we're getting close. Today is Tuesday, and I take off on Thursday night. So I've got my pile of things that I'm going to have to figure out how to pack, and my last final lists. And for those folks who are in Uganda, I wanted to show you. This is a pillar that's made completely out of mud. This is the horns of one of our elk, which is a huge creature that roam around in the mountains in this state. And my house is mostly built out of mud, which is exactly, of course, like most of the houses in Uganda. So anyway, this will be the end for this video, and the next time we'll see you, we'll probably be beginning the journey. So see you then. Bye-bye.